Hi there, this is Kevin for GatheringMagic.com, here with a wrap-up video for our Playing on a Budget in the Standard Daily. Did end up going 2-2, so not a bad showing, especially since we did go up against some very expensive decks there. The Esper Control decks are cost a pretty petty just from the dual lands alone. The dual lands alone are worth more than this entire deck. So I was pretty impressed with the 2-2 finish. Of course, it can be optimized more. You could add some more expensive cards to this deck as you get them, but it's a very good introduction deck for new players who are trying to get maybe their feet wet in F&M and want a competitive deck that won't break the bank. I think this is a perfect deck for new players as well, because green seems very self-explanatory. Although there is some more higher-end decision-making that this deck does take. As you can tell from my videos, there were a few options that I might have played wrong or could have played more optimally, but overall it pretty much runs itself. There isn't too complicated of a deck. You just want to slap a Rancor on one of your guys and attack away. So anyway, just going to go over the matches here, talk about the cards I liked, talk about the cards I didn't like. The first card I didn't like was Experiment 1. There really isn't enough cards in this deck to evolve it consistently. I think this card is best patched with decks that are best paired with decks that use cards such as Burning Tree, Emissary, and Flinthoof Boar. I mean, I think that's kind of the god draw on those RG aggros to hit a turn 1 Experiment 1 into a turn 2 Burning Tree, Emissary, Flinthoof Boar, and it evolves twice and you can swing for 3, so it's kind of like a Wild Nacatl. But in this deck, it misses a lot of its evolve triggers. It only really evolves for that to happen on turn 2. It can get a 2-2, and on turn 3, it can hit a Wolfir Avenger and get a 3-3. But that's like the perfect draw of Experiment 1, Strangleroot Geist, into Wolfir Avenger. I'd definitely rather have another tracker or two, or maybe even like a Dryad Militant instead of Experiment 1. The Arbor Elf was great. I still am loving the second turn, either Avenger or Predator Ooze. The games that we got that out it seemed like the games that we won. Of course, the Rancors are not included in any sort of deck that is mono green. It's a great aggressive card that comes back. It's very resilient to removal. Strangleroot Geist was great all day. Didn't really run into many Pillar of Flames. So right now it's great in the meta if they are using more of the Tragic Slips or Searing Spears instead of Pillar of Flames. Pit Fight was actually very good as well. This is another card that I definitely could see adding more main board, as you were able to get rid of problematic cards like Blood Artist or opposing creatures, opposing blockers, and then get in there. It's very good with Predator Ooze. It adds a counter as it kills something when it fights it, and then adds another counter when you swing, and if they block it adds another counter. So potentially 3 counters in one turn is never bad. So pit fights are something you could definitely put more of in the deck. I would definitely, right now, the main change I would make is I'd cut an Experiment 1 for another tracker and cut another Experiment 1 for another pit fight. Another card I was very impressed with is Wild Beastmaster. It won us a game in spectacular fashion as it was paired with this bad boy here, Wolfir Silverheart. I think Wolfir Silverheart might be another card that I would go up to 3 of, but our 5 slot is pretty jammed here with Vorapedes and Wolfir Silverhearts, but I do think that it could handle another 5 slot here. I do like the 2 of Vorapede as well. I mean, I could cut a Yeva. Yeva actually wasn't as good as I thought she was going to be. The 4 for Flash is kind of good. She might be a little bit better in Deadbridge Goliath. Didn't really get to use either one of these much in the matchups to really test them out. Of course, the MVP in this deck, I would say, is the Wolfir Avengers and the Predator Ooze. So the game plan is still to ramp from an Arbor Elf into a turn 2, either Avenger or Ooze. I really like both of these cards as they are very, very resilient to removal. Tragic Slip is kind of a pain in the butt, and so are Sack Outlets, but everything else, I mean, this guy regenerates and this guy's indestructible. So, I mean, that's just the theory of this deck, is it can dodge Supreme Verdicts and other traditional removal. So, onto the sideboard, cards that I think Tormod's Crypt. I know that the Angel of Serenity decks and the Angel of Glory Rise decks, any other sort of Unburial Rites deck, Tormod's Crypt is very good against, and that's why I initially put it in the sideboard, but running a total of 4 of these might be too many. Ranger's Guile was great all day. That's something I could definitely go 4 of, and definitely even think about going main board, as it seems like any deck right now in the meta is going to be running some sort of creature removal, and spot removal is getting more popular through the form of like the Tragic Slips and the Pillar Flames and Searing Spears, rather than the full board wipes such as Bonfire or Supreme Verdict or Terminus. So Ranger's Guile definitely is more valuable now in the meta than it was a month ago. So I would keep including this. Didn't really get to see Triumph of Ferocity. It would have been great if I would have got it out earlier against the Esper control decks. Again, I didn't see the acidic slimes, so even though I had 3 of them, I didn't get to play any of this entire 4 rounds. Another great deck against like UWR Flash or Esper control. So again, acidic slime is probably one that I'd want to keep in my sideboard. Silklash Spider was okay. I really like it against Vampire Nighthawk decks and Falconwrath Aristocrat decks. And if Thundermaw does become popular again, Silklash Spider, of course, is something you could put in. So overall, again, the matchups were round 1 versus Esper control. Got a little bit of unlucky with getting flooded game 1, and game 2 we almost locked him out of the black, but he was able to outcard advantage us with 2 Sphinx's Revelation and just get in there. I might have misplayed that game a bit by not doing the early Revenge of the Hunted onto a Wolfir Avenger. That's another card in this deck that seemed like it worked out very well, was Revenge of the Hunted, and it's cheap. It's only 50 cents on Cool Stuff Incorporated right now, so coolstuffinc.com. So definitely, if you're building this deck, this is by far the best bang for your buck, as it's only 50 cents, and it did win me a couple games there. So this is another card I could definitely see going up to either a 3 of or maybe even a 4 of, even though I think 4 would be a little overkill. You only want to see 1, maybe 2 per game. So the next matchup versus Esper again went very well. Our opponent was very unlucky. He did seem to he mulled a 5 first game and then was stuck on lands the second game. But I was very impressed with this deck. Like I said, Wolfir Avenger seems very good against that matchup. Round 3, I think, is really what this deck is built for. I really like this deck against RG aggro. In fact, I really like this deck against any aggro decks but the zombies. Zombies is very hard for us because we cannot deal with the direct damage aspect of it, whether they be playing Brimstone Volleys or whether they're playing the Blood Artist or the Messengers. We can't chump block or go over the top of a deck that can just consistently deal damage to us. But the other decks that don't rely on that strategy, even good old Rakdos aggro that doesn't use Messengers or Blood Artist or the traditional RG aggro, I do like this deck, as a lot of times we can just go over the top. What I mean by over the top is race them with a huge Wolfir Silverheart or Revenge of the Hunted and just kill them in 1 turn when, you know, they're dealing 4 or 5 damage per turn, and we just have that one big turn where we can kill them. So that second matchup I do believe was in our favor. It's another fun deck, another deck that is starting to get very popular. It's called Wolfir Silver Smash, and it runs 4 main-boarded Wolfir Silverhearts, Rancors, and they try to ramp into the Wolfir Silverheart by using like Gyre Sages and Arbor Elves and the other werewolf dude that flips, can't remember his name off the top of my head, to ramp into a Wolfir Silverheart. So again, 2 and 2 is not too shabby. I'm really liking this deck. I recommend it to someone who is either new to Magic or wanting to get into Standard and wants to build a budget deck to kind of like I said, get their feet wet, get a feel for it. This is definitely a competitive deck. 2 and 2 in the daily is not shabby. The decks I went against were definitely competitive decks. You see them all the time. They were all tier 1 and tier 2 decks. And yeah, basically this is a great deck, and I really recommend picking it up. If you've enjoyed this video, please come over and check my YouTube channel. I'm Kevin from Rogue Deck Builder. If you do YouTube/Rogue Deck Builder, you can check out my channel, check out my videos. I love to build rogue decks. I love to build off-the-wall crazy decks and play them in tournaments. So if that is your type of style, come check me out. Thanks for watching.